Hello, everyone. Welcome back again to the Physical Therapy Lecture Series, Part 7, I believe. We're beginning with the spinal cord. And so just like we were talking about with the brain, how the brain has an ability to kind of change or modify pain or alter our pain experience, create this pain variance through context, right? Through perceived threat. Um, well, the spinal cord has the same ability, and it does it kind of more on a non-conscious level, but it still does it, and we're bringing it up to discuss it just to illustrate that it's not just again the body part that's involved in pain. Like say if we have lower back pain, it's not just the lower back, nor is it just the brain. There are a lot of other parts of us that experience pain and are involved in the processing of it. And the spinal cord has an ability not just to vary it, but to ramp the pain signal up or down, to turn the volume up or down, as we see here on the right. Or we also say more technically, it can facilitate or inhibit this signal. And here's how it looks. Here's a picture of a hand. This person touched a tack, and maybe they had a sensation of a sharp, kind of a sharp sensation that went up through the fingertip, the hand, those nerves in the hand, the arm, and then we kind of see here this blown up version of a spinal cord. So it reaches the dorsal root ganglion, which is basically like a cluster of nerve cells near the spinal cord. And it goes to some processing there. It's a big nerve cluster. And then it goes into the spinal cord. And from there, it goes up to the brain, right? And it gets processed in the somatosensory cortex of the brain, which we just spoke about. And then, of course, if there's a response to that signal going up through this red line, it will go down if there's like a motor response, a movement response, some kind of action response from the brain, that the brain wants the body to either to withdraw the hand from the hot stove or remove itself in some way from that perceived threat. In acute pain, it's like the quick withdrawal reflex, right? Maybe in chronic pain, it's just more muscle guarding, right? Muscles guard and tighten up, armor you up, and that's its way of pulling you back, right, from a perceived invisible threat, even though there might not be an apparent threat there. Okay, but that signal will come down from the brain down this blue and into the muscle. So this is the motor response, right? And we remember the motor area of the homunculus, right? So it comes down from the brain, the spinal cord, and then down to the ganglion, right, and into a muscle for action or response. But the point is, the spinal cord and this whole center here, this cluster of nerves and many different parts of the spinal cord and the periphery, can ramp up or ramp down these signals. So if we move on to the next slide, our spinal cord is essentially like a major highway to and from the brain. All right. And it is like that. There's a lot of different nerve pathways going up and down. When we go to the next slide, what's really neat is this line here, is that really for every nerve that goes up to the brain, well, there's essentially 200 more going down, right? So a lot of different nerves or nerve impulses. And essentially, something that we don't normally think about is, but our thoughts are nerve impulses, right? We don't just pick up nerve impulses through touch, touch and sensation and temperature and pressure and whatnot, but also going down from our brain into our body, all of our thoughts, our emotions, those are nerve impulses too, right? Those help to shape and create our biochemistry, hence the field psychoneuroimmunology, right? How our thoughts influence our nervous system and our immune system. And it gets even more complex than that. Our, you could say, endocrinology, how our thoughts influence our nervous system and endocrine system and all these different chemicals floating around in our body. So that's a whole different topic that psychology is going to cover. And you could just dive into a lot of detail there. But suffice it to say that our thoughts, our nerve impulses, and this is just one little tidbit here that says, yes, if we're having like way out of control, catastrophic thoughts, right? I mean, again, everybody has not so pleasant thoughts. That's just kind of being human. Nobody has perfect thoughts. But when our thoughts get way out of hand and go down to that catastrophic line of thinking, yeah, they've shown that that can actually enhance inflammation and some of these inflammatory chemicals in the body, cortisol, pro-inflammatory cytokines, and so on and so forth. That's just to name a few from one study that's listed down here. So uh, we do want to make sure that we manage our thoughts, and that's something that psychology is going to talk a lot more about in greater detail. But we just say from a PT end, hey, just think about turning those thought viruses into thought vaccines, right? Turn thoughts into pain vaccines. Doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect, but the more the better. And that leads us to our next story, our next pain science education story called the nosy neighbor analogy. So, have you ever wondered why you now have hip pain, knee pain, and upper back pain when years ago it was just low back pain? Sometimes the longer you've been in pain and other parts of your body start to wake up from the sound of that pain alarm going off in your lower back. And this analogy could be for any different body part, but that's just kind of the one that we're working off right now and right here. So here's an example, right? We're going to use the nosy neighbor. So let's say, the house alarm goes off at 11 p.m. Right? What do the neighbors do when a person's house alarm goes off at 11 p.m.? Well, they wake up, right? They get irritable. They check on you, right? And generally speaking, hey, if the house alarm goes off, neighbors wake up, if the alarm gets turned off pretty quickly, well, all is well, and the neighbors go back to sleep. No big deal, right? But let's say, and I think we've all had this experience where a house alarm goes off, you're woken up and it keeps going off, right? Well, those neighbors, you might be one of those neighbors, they get really irritated, right? They get really irritated, and then they start to go outside their house and investigate, and they're grumpy, and they own, and of course, they call the fire department, and the fire department comes, and they come on the scene and investigate. And so in this analogy here, um, the immediate the house alarm that goes off might be, say, the onset of lower back pain, and the neighbor's waking up. If you can see this picture here, the neighbor's waking up um, for an alarm, house alarm bell that's been going off way too long, and now they can't get back to sleep. And now the fire department's arrived. Well, that's going to be, oops, I just jumped to the next one. That's going to be like the hip pain coming on for no reason, or the upper back pain starting to come on for no reason. Like all these other parts of the body, around the original site of pain start to get woken up. They start to get sensitized too on a body level. They start to kind of, you know, feel the effects of this loud alarm. They're woken up, they're sensitized, right? But the point is that if you have this experience, if you can somehow relate to this nosy neighbor analogy, that even though you might be feeling more pain in surrounding areas of your body, right, around that original site of your pain or injury, it might not necessarily equate to pain, or to more injury, I should say. Okay. So it might not equate to damage. It might not equate to anything more that's wrong, but more that it's just been extra sensitized. Okay. And then we move to the next slide. Um, this is just kind of to illustrate how when that alarm bell has been going off for a really long time and the neighbors wake up, the fire department arrives, other body parts are involved in our instance. Well, sometimes the police arrive, right? And that's kind of your immune, in this analogy, the immune molecules showing up on scene. And that's kind of like when you have the flu, right? When you have the flu and your immune system gets really, really involved, like you get even more sensitive, right? You get more achy and more pain sensitivity, because those immune molecules, they're really interactive with the nervous system cells, And like I say here, they check out the crime scenes and they really investigate heavily for old injury and surgery sites, and they just make things even more sensitive. There's a lot more cellular activity that's going on. So again, you're wondering, well, why is my system so sensitive, right? That's what we're talking about here, right? It's like, well, hey, it might not be tissues, it might not be just your nervous system. Well, it might be because your immune system's really involved, right? And there's a lot more molecules and different chemical structures going on there. And there's kind of like, yeah, it's like a street. The whole street gets backed up with fire trucks and police cars and neighbors. Like there's a traffic jam, right? And then your brain's involved in processing, and all these things are involved. Hence, pain is complex. A lot of parts are involved, and hopefully you're beginning to see that and literally get the picture with what's going on. All right, we're going to stop here for now and pick it up the next lecture on nerves. Thank you again for attending.